Here we are, just inspecting the components. Got an axle shaft. We've got two, complete with the bearing. We've got two inner hub, which are serrated, the brass ones, and two outer caps, which are threaded to take the axle. Just making sure everything fits together before we start. Yep, everything looks okay. So we'll proceed to the next step. Here's the inner hub. The edges are serrated to grab the string. Not very clear on the video, but that's the idea. And then there's the tiny roller bearing which the string will sit around when it's complete. What I'd done previously is cut a couple of blanks, drill them, not a very good drill out there, drill them with a 10mm hole and inserted and glued in the brass tubes. Now what you have to do is sand the faces so the brass tubes are perfectly level. Now the inner faces of the toy have got to be rough, so although the saw marks give that impression, they're not even, so we'll deal with that a little bit later on. If they're not rough, it doesn't provide a break for the string, so the toy sits at the bottom of the string instead of coming back up to the user, which we'll demonstrate a little later on. And here I am just getting rid of some of the excess epoxy which has found its way into the tube. Just file it out. Now I used some blanks, some bushes from a pen kit that just happened to fit in the tubes. You don't have to turn them down to the centre size of the bushing. It's just to add support. So this particular set is a set of 3 bushes, 2 outer ones, and then the centre one takes both sides, so it's for a 2-part, a 2-tube pen. So it fitted perfectly for my purposes here. And here we can see the two parts together with the 3 bushes in them, and it's just a guide. That's all. What I did here off camera, after this, I face sanded both halves to bring the brass tubes flush with the surface of the wood. Now here I've mounted the pieces on a pen mandrel. Plenty of spacings in there. I'd actually marked the diameter needed. It was 2 1/4 inches, but anything 2 to 2 1/4 inches is okay. I marked that on one of the discs and set my calipers so that both discs were exactly the same circumference. Now they're not evenly balanced at the moment, but the shaping will take care of that, and it is important that they become evenly balanced, and you'll see that as we go along. And there we are, just checking the diameter of each one. And now I'm just removing the fuzzies from the edge of the inner faces. Don't want to sand the inner faces, just remove those fuzzies. Now we begin shaping. I'm just using a roughing gouge to do this initially, just to take some of the meat off, get the rough shape, and then later on I'll use a skew to get the final shape. And then once we got the final shape, we roughly cut out. We'll then use some 100 sandpaper to just trim up and until we're satisfied that the two halves are identical. So just sanding it here with the 100 grit, and that'll just finalise the actual shape. Eventually I'll sand up to and including 600 for the finished article. what I'm doing now, I'm just putting on I put some sanding sealer on and buffed that down. I braided it down. Now I'm just applying some beeswax and walnut oil paste that I make, which of course is a food safe. It's food safe, being a toy. You know, kids tend to put things in their mouths, and it gives it a nice shine. And that's the final finish that I use. So here we are, just taking the components apart from the bushes. And we now just want to start the assembly process. Now what I'm doing here, I'm just roughing up the inner faces of the yo-yo, of the toy, to provide that break for the string. If it's not rough, the toy just stays at the bottom of the string length and doesn't revolve back again. Similarly, if the loop on the string isn't secure around the bearing and it's slack, the toy won't return. Now I decided to use my pen press to put these bushes in because they're quite delicate, and I didn't want to chance using my vise in case I scratch them. And this is a real convenient way of putting in the two caps into the tubes. Same as a pen tube. Okay, so we put the inner ones on first, serrated the brass ones. We follow that with the outer, the threaded ones. Sorry, I got that back to front. The outer caps on first, threaded one, and then follow it with the finally with the two inner serrated centres. Now we've got the pieces together. There's the outer cap, there's the inner one with the rough base. What we do now is we actually got the axle, which has a tiny roller bearing on it, and we put that into one half of the toy. Screw it into the cap, and we repeat that process with the other half. Don't tighten these up too tight, because invariably you've got to take them apart a number of times to finally adjust the surface, inner surface, or the knot. So what we've got now, we've got this, just putting a knot on a loop on the string, and then threading the string back onto itself to provide a slip loop. That's for the finger. Okay. Just pull the string through the loop and place it on the toy and pull it tight. And we've got to make sure that knot, the loop, goes over the knot, so the knot fully secured on the bearing in the centre. Then we can wrap the string, and job done. Quick demonstration, and I'm no expert in using a yo-yo, and never have been, but it comes back. Whoops, sort of. Yep, here we go. We try again. Yep, comes back. Great job. Just so as I showed, it wasn't a fluke, and we're back again. And that's it. Here we go. Thanks for watching, guys and gals.